It's a special edition over here. We usually concentrate on the famous, let's say, Oriental rabbis, North African rabbis. But over here today, a rabbi that was very much connected, especially to Yemen and other places, which we are grappling with other great rabbis about, is a Rabbi Yakov Sapir, who I believe was actually born in part of a time in Ashmian, which was, I think, part of the Russian Empire. He lived in the years 1822 to 1885. Now, he was a great rabbi. He was a shluchei d'Rabbanan. He was a manuscript, let's say, researcher in himself, and he was very, very much traveled. He would have various different great books will be published, which we're going to speak about, especially the Even Sapir, which was a very famous book, which talks about his journey across various different continents, especially his time where he was included Yemen. That was most famously spoken about, respectively. Now, it's actually interesting. There'll be a moshav, I believe, in the land of Israel named after him, called Even HaSapir, respectively. I think it's actually in the corridor area of Jerusalem, respectively, if I'm not mistaken. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, he was born in a called Ashmian. I think it's part of modern-day Belarus. I think it's in a town called Grodno, if I'm not mistaken, very much part of the Russian Empire. And he would emigrate as a child to the land of Israel with his family. It reports a parent, sister, and brother. I believe this was around the time of 1832, if I'm not mistaken. So he'd been around 10 years of age at that point in time. Now, it's interesting. His father, I think, was Rabbi Natan Halevi Sapir. He actually, if I'm not mistaken, he lived between the years 1790 to 1832. And Rabbi Tova was his mother, and they would settle in Tzfat, Tzfat being one of the four holy cities of Israel. And sadly, I think both his mother and father passed away at around the same period, which is obviously very tough. And when he was only 12 years of age, as reported over, he would actually see there was a famous incident, which we speak about on another occasion over here in the series, where there was, I think, an attack of the Arabs of the Galil, respectively, on the Jewish community of Tzfat, which was absolutely devastating. I think it actually happened in the month of Sivan, respectively, towards the summer time period. And maybe we should speak about that on another occasion. I think that happened maybe around the year 1834. And in 1836, he would then move from Tzfat to Jerusalem. He would study over there inside yeshiva. And eventually, his Torah brilliance will lead him to teach inside the Talmud Torah over there. Various different topics, really for the community inside Jerusalem, respectively. And I think he would be part of, like, let's just say, in this community where there was a lot of people coming to visit Jerusalem at that point in time, the land of Israel, with distinguished guests coming in, benefactors. He would write poems. He was famous as a poet over there, writing songs and poems in honor of these people that will come and visit the land of Israel. Now, it's reported over in the year 1854, I think there was the song called the Kanaf Rananim, which was in honor of the famous Sir Moses Montefiore, a great philanthropist we spoke about on various occasions before. He was very much connected to that. I think he published many articles in a famous newspaper publication called The Lebanon, if I'm not mistaken. This was we've spoken about before. This, I think, on various occasions before. And I think it would be published by his son-in-law, Yechiel Brill. And he has, especially on the topic of etrogim. This was, I think, Yechiel Brill, his son-in-law, was a journalist and an activist, and he was a founder of this Lebanon newspaper publication in of itself. Now, come with the 1859, he was sent as, let's just say, a shluchei d'Rabbanan to various different, let's say, Asian countries, and he'll make his mark over there, especially India at that point in time. Remember, we haven't spoken about many people traveling to India. He would spend a window of time there. Australia, that was another place where he would, remember, the purpose was to raise funds and to mitchazek those communities, strengthen those communities. For example, I think it was raising funds for the famous Hurva synagogue, a place we visited on this channel on various occasions before, and I think it was under the name of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid in Jerusalem, respectively. His travelings, as we said before, would be Australia, India. He would stop through Yemen on a famous trip over there, and it's reported that he would disembark the ship because his money was stolen from him, and he could not necessarily pay for the travel expense at that point in time, and he would meet the Yemenite community, and this would be one of the famous, let's say, meetings, embracements in definitely within regards to Jewish history. And he was very, very impressed by the Yemenite Jewish community over there. I think they lived inside, let's just say, at that point, in let's say more inland area inside the land itself, respectively. And it's reported over he would also visit Indonesia, and I think at that point in time it was under Dutch rule. And famously reported over in Indonesia, I think of the Dada Komodan, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe we should speak about that on another occasion. Now, eventually, I think after his window of time in all these different countries, he would return to Australia. I think he would actually go via Aden, respectively. So remember, Aden is a port city in Yemen. So he would spend there, and he will collect, let's just say, in itself, various different materials for the Jewish community over there, things that are needed over there. And I think very much help him with regards to his Torah colossal book called Sapir, this book would actually concentrate about his journey in Yemen and the Jewish community over there. He would speak about, let's just say, extensively over there. In the book, I think the book was published between the years 1864 to 1866. He also published studies on, let's just say, the important thing, the Keter Aron Tzova, which also was a manuscript form, I think, originally, and as well as other manuscripts of the Torah and the Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, I believe also. Rabbi Sapir was one of the first people, let's just say, to draw the attention to the Jewish world within regards to existence of the Jews of Ethiopia, and we'll even, let's say, talk about the Jews of the Far East. It was really very diverse and brilliant within regards to the encompassment of studies. In Jerusalem, when he returned to Jerusalem, he would continue taking a huge interest in regards to the Yemenite community. And he would really grapple with the different issues that was taking place in the Yemenite territories, respectively, from a Jewish point of view. Now, he would embark on more trips. I think between the years 1865 to 1873, he would go around Europe and North Africa. And he would also publish, I believe, at that stage in time, various different letters, the Edut B'Yosef, B'Nosa Izvono, I believe, which was another important work in of itself. It was, I think, a reply on the subject of a state of the late Nissim Shamama, if I'm not mistaken. And he would find various different discoveries, let's just say, all throughout his time, especially in the Genizah Itika B'Kahir, in Cairo, respectively, the ancient Genizah of Cairo, where there was discussions where he will actually discuss these discoveries in his book. And various different other people will visit this Genizah to find various different findings. I think come what the years 1883 to 1885, he helped print, I think in Jerusalem, the famous book called the Chemdat Yamim, a book we've spoken about on various occasions before, I think very much connected to the famous Temani Rabbi Shalom Shabzi, which, remember, we've actually dedicated video with regards to Rav Shabzi, I think not so long ago, but maybe the last 2 months. Now, it's reported that he passed away on the 6th of Tammuz, is his Hilula. He was buried in Har HaZeitim, the Mount of Olives burial plot in Jerusalem. Now, as we say before, in the Jerusalem hills, has his Moshav Sapir, respectively. I think there's streets named after him in various neighborhoods in Jerusalem. And I think a Dan housing estate in Tel Aviv will actually have a commemoration within regards to him. Various of his findings and historical testimonies have gained huge halachic recognition, especially from the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Herzog, who was a famous rabbi of yesteryear. Now, it's reported he would marry, he got married to the daughter of Rabbi Shlomo Zalman HaKohen, and I think he would have 5 children. Now, most noticeably, his Chatan, Rav Shmuel Baruch, was a famous rabbi. Maybe we'll speak about him before. Rav Chaim Nissim Baruch was a famous businessman, a head of the Sephardi committee in Jerusalem, and let's say the head of Jewish court over there, respectively. I think he passed away himself in the 1899. He was a famous Dayan over there. He himself happened to be close to various different great rabbis, including the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Yakov Shaul Elisha, Rabbi Raphael Meir Panizel, and many other rabbis we've spoken about before on various occasions before. So that maybe we should actually dedicate a video speaking about him. Now, I think Yechiel Bril will be, I think, another one of his son-in-laws, and he would have various different famous Zionistic activists among the grandchildren, including Eliyahu Sapir, I believe.